In the first lecture module, we introduced this meta-ethical problem, this idea that we want to understand or be able to provide a theory about what differentiates a good action from a bad action, a moral action from an immoral action, a permissible action or a praiseworthy action from a blameworthy action. What is the source of normativity in ethics? One proposed solution, the solution that we're going to focus on this week, is called divine command theory. Now, divine command theory proposes that the difference between a good action and a bad action, a moral action and an immoral action, has to do with the will of the deity. That is, if your deity commands that this is a good thing to do, or commands that this is a bad thing to do, so allows or forbids, that is the source of the normativity. That is the difference, the basis of the distinction between right action and wrong action, between the ways in which you should conduct your life and the ways in which you should not conduct your life. Now, notice that while within the Western ethical tradition, divine command theory is always framed within the context of religion, the answer that it provides is more general than a religious answer. The answer has to do with authority itself. So if you're wondering why you should obey the king or why you should follow the laws of your society, one answer that you might provide, one normative source, is that the dictates of that ruler, the dictates of that society, are the source of the authority for those actions. Now, we have to be careful here, because when we say it's the source of the authority, we're not locating that authority in the ability to punish or reward you. We're saying that the reason why this is a good law, or the reason why this is a dictate that you should follow, is that it comes from that authority. And that's what divine command theory does. And in fact, during the Middle Ages, during the Enlightenment, when places like Europe were ruled by monarchs, their right to rule was divinely ordained. So God willed them to rule, and because God willed them to rule, their authority came from God. So within the religious context, divine command theory, or what's sometimes called theological voluntarism, provides us with this answer to the question, what differentiates a good action from a bad action, a moral from an immoral action, and so on. Now, this answer has its attractions, but it also has its problems. Let's begin by reviewing divine command theory's attractions, the things that might motivate a philosopher of religion or a theologian or just a regular person to adopt the view. So philosophers and theologians like St. Augustine or Duns Scotus or William of Ockham or the gentleman pictured below, John Calvin, have espoused divine command theory during the course of Western religious history. And the theory seems attractive to theologians and philosophers of religion for several different reasons. To start, I would argue that one of the attractions, and certainly one of the goals of religion, is to present the faithful with a worldview that's crafted around the deity. And in fact, prominent parts of a religious worldview are going to include conceptions of the goals and the meaning of life. So they provide you with a recipe for understanding what gives life meaning, understanding what goals you might have, understanding what actions you ought to take to accomplish those goals and to find that meaning. And in general, a worldview offers a conception of the individual, the society, and the universe, and how those things interact and are related to one another. Thus, ethical prescriptions, so norms about how to live one's life, are going to figure prominently in most religious worldviews. As a result, divine command theory integrates nicely with the religious intent and worldview, in that divine command theory ties religious prescriptions for how to live one's life directly to the deity, in that divine command theory explains morality and normativity as flowing from the will of the deity. Divine command theory also renders unproblematic various prima facie morally questionable acts by a deity. So, for example, The Bible reports the Judeo-Christian God ordering multiple genocides, plundering the Egyptian, ordering Abraham to sacrifice his son, sending bears to kill 42 little boys for making fun of Elijah's bald head, forcing fathers and sons to eat each other, and so on. All of these acts seem questionable, problematic from a moral perspective. However, according to divine command theory, these acts aren't morally wrong or problematic at all. Since God wills these acts, they are rendered morally good. As we see then, divine command theory has the effect of shielding the deity from moral scrutiny. It literally states that the deity can do no wrong. Now, in the next lecture module, we'll turn our attention from reasons why one might find divine command theory attractive to Plato's dilemma in the Euthyphro, his argument that divine command theory is an unworkable theory.